when I heard about this, I just thought this is a bonkers summer story, but it's real, is it?
It is real. I mean, it's very unusual. You wouldn't normally expect this to happen, but she had this sort of perfect storm going on. Basically, very tight jeans, and your calves particularly are sort of prone to this thing called compartment syndrome.
Okay, but she was kneeling down. So, in other words, anatomically, she was bending, and so there was constriction, was there, and which was exacerbated by the jeans. I mean, just explain it.
Precisely. She'd been crouching for hours because she was cleaning out a cupboard, moving house.
Right.
And because of that position, that compromises your blood flow anyway to the legs. And when that happens, your body starts to react and you get a bit of swelling. Now, your calves aren't very good at expanding much, and you can get this thing called compartment syndrome.
So the calves couldn't swell out because the skinny jeans, actually the skinny jeans, those stretch, don't they? I mean, they didn't stretch enough.
It's part of having the jeans, which are quite tight, but also the anatomy of
jeans
the calf.
Jeans with a J, not the G. Yeah, I'm being flippant. Yeah. So push down to the ankles, which means that the blood flow is constricted, which means she couldn't walk. And actually, she was in hospital for 4 days, so actually quite serious.
It was. I mean, this condition, if you do get this sort of compartment syndrome, which is where all of the muscles in the area you're talking about get starved of the oxygen, the nerves get damaged too. If you don't correct that, then it can be really serious. You can get death of some of the muscles.
But when you look at athletes, I mean, aren't they running now and swimming in these skin-tight suits? Or is that okay because they're physically moving at the same time?
Well, athletes, you do have to be careful when you're an athlete because you're doing a repetitive thing. So long-distance runners, some cyclists, sometimes develop a chronic compartment syndrome, the same sort of thing in the calves.
But for people watching, I mean, does that mean they should be throwing these skinny jeans out?
I think that would be a bit too rash to say that, but it was an interesting one-off case. Doctors have noticed a few other cases as well of people who've had very tight jeans around the thighs where they've had some nerve problems afterwards, but all of these cases thankfully have resolved themselves when you remove the offending article.
There was a study a few years ago about Italian men suffering from wearing tight underpants, but that's another matter, isn't it? Michelle, thank you very much indeed.